I saw this fantastic Letterboxd comment on Voyagers, and literally it described the movie as Among Us, but horny. And from the trailer, you would definitely think that. But this movie actually has a lot more to it than you would actually expect, and I'm excited to dive into this one for you guys today to tell you guys if you should check this one out this weekend. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to a brand new movie review. My name is Zach. I am the Wolf of Geek Street, and if you are here, then you probably love talking movies just as much as I do, or you're just a geek like me, so make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, as well as comment down below and let me know your guys' thoughts. How excited are you for Voyagers? Have you been looking forward to it? Have you not? Let's discuss it all down there. Voyagers is about a crew of astronauts on a multi-generational mission. This mission soon descends into paranoia, madness, and truly not knowing what is real or not. This is written and directed by Neil Berger, and it stars the likes of Colin Farrell, Tye Sheridan, and Lily Rose Depp. Now, from the trailers, this had a really cool aesthetic to it. The posters, all that nature, I was really looking forward to this one because I'm up for a cool little sci-fi adventure that's gonna kind of let me forget about the world, but again, take me somewhere new. But this is actually a very uncomfortable, claustrophobic, paranoia, and in a sense unusual type of movie. One that I was actually really entertained by. I think it is not perfect though. I have my cons, but I think you'll at least go into this and feel entertained. You'll feel like you got something out of this, even though I feel like the film tries to go a little bit deeper than it actually means to, which we'll definitely talk about. Talking and starting with my pros is the concept of this overall entire story, because it's about these kids who were raised in an isolated nature to be sent into space to a completely unknown planet that will be the next pretty much Earth for them. They don't know the wide open spaces. They don't know none of that stuff. In a sense, they are pretty much programmed and raised to be robots with no personalities. But they're, how does that work? As we've seen through many different sci-fi ventures with AI tech, the AI usually starts to learn and gain feelings or of some sense knowledge of what is going on. We've seen this in, say, Prometheus lately with, of course, the character David. But in here, the thing that's interesting about that aspect is they're doing it to human beings like you or me, where we all know that human nature in us does eventually come out. You can sedate it as long as you want, but eventually that curiosity will be there. And that curiosity is a big element of what makes us human. It can bring the dangerous aspects of it all, and it can bring definitely the smarter aspects of it all. And I think what Voyagers does really well is really tie in that whole entire human nature aspect, especially within the first two acts, and in general, seeing how it brings about, and the allegory that it's really much speaking about within the human nature aspect, I thought was really smart for the first two acts of this movie. And the performances in here are really well done. Colin Farrell is just great. Tye Sheridan is a leading man, and I hope to see more of him eventually. And Lily Rose Depp just has this sweet, sincere aspect to her all that I think she really gives in all of her performances that makes her a very likable person. And the rest of the cast in here is pretty good. I think what it really comes down to, though, is that this movie has a lot of uncomfortable sequences, and that's something I really do want to warn, is that there are some sexual assault stuff in here, so for people who have dealt with that in the past, that might be kind of a trigger in here. I do understand for certain people in my life who have gone through that, it's kind of the hardest thing to kind of watch, but even though it is a small aspect of this, it does again touch into that human nature and how humans can be, and especially teenagers, because teenagers are discovering themselves and discovering who they are and what they want to be, and when you've been sedated for that long, aggressiveness can come out. And there, on a psychological scale, when you look at that, the film is touching into that. I just kind of wish that the film was written a little bit better to really dive in and hone into that instead of just kind of glimpsing over it. Because I think the concept of it is great, but I didn't think the execution of that nature was perfect for everything that it kind of tries to approach. That's why I keep saying the first two acts of that human nature allegory, great. The third act, though, it really dives into a more simplistic approach that feels a little bit kind of away from what it was trying to touch on. Because there's a lot this film tries to bring about. And overall, again, entertaining for the most part. I wanted a little bit of a deeper value if you're going to try and go for that. Still, staying on my pros, there are some amazing sequences within those first two acts. There's this cool moment of seeing the babies, like these kids develop, and seeing how the science comes about in that. There's the way that they really bring about and hone in space, while again, the first two acts, very realistic approach to it in the way that it's dark and dense and you can't really see what's going on, and again adds to that paranoia and madness that might come about from people who are very much new to this whole entire space and discovering things for all themselves. It is really interesting to see how this film was able to tackle that exact thing. As teenagers, again, that tense aspect brings about in that nature with, again, bringing in the human nature, but the jealousy aspect is something else that the film hones in. And again, I think Berger tackled that really well in the first two acts. Now let's shift over to my cons, because again, I enjoyed the movie, but my cons are the things that I think hold back this film from being great. Excellent. I think it really much hones and brings this film to be about good. It's a good, entertaining movie that you won't waste your time with. And I think when it comes into the third act, there becomes a couple twists and turns that maybe become a little bit too predictable. And I feel like the elements of this, some of the editing and the scenes feel a little bit hectic for no reason at all. And especially in this claustrophobic environment, I wish they would have used that more to its advantage of being a creator. I think there were some cool tricks and turns you could have done with that overall, especially when it comes to a whole entire production design. Now, when it comes down to the characters, there are some expected elements in here that I think, again, fall into that predictable category. And for me, one of the things that does get annoying, and I feel like this will be mixed for everyone, and it depends who you are. For me, I like some of the teenager aspects, but when it comes to that YA drama type stuff, that's not for me. And I didn't think it felt placed right inside this. There's something in the third act that, for the most part, this film is pretty realistic, I would say. You know, we're talking about a space movie, but seriously, they hone into most of the things that would happen in space. But there's one thing that happened. They set up a rule in the beginning of this movie that, you know, how space works. And then the third act kind of throws it out the window. And I kind of went, okay, that is like completely unrealistic. And again, took me out of being immersed into this story, and I didn't want it to be like that. Again, this movie, it tries to do so much, where I feel like it should have just delved deeper into the madness and the paranoia. That was the most intriguing aspect, and that's what I was looking forward to. And while it kept it for the first two acts, the third act kind of throws it away, and again, goes into a very much more simplistic approach that I wasn't really that big of a fan of. This film kind of reminded me of the movie High Life with Robert Pattinson, which, again, I didn't love that movie. I didn't. I think this one's actually more entertaining. But for the allegories and everything that film was trying to say, I think it did a little bit better than what this one was trying to do. So I think for this movie, it kind of comes down to two different approaches. If you're looking for someone, or you are someone who's looking for a very much more deeper approach to something that this film is speaking about, I think High Life will be the movie you should go check out. And again, if you're just wanting something that's entertaining, something that's not mindless, but in a sense has some substance to it, but you can, again, watch it and be like, okay, that had some cool things to it, I think this movie's for you. Because I enjoyed it. I walked in and I was like, you know, I'm excited for this. It didn't hit my expectations that I wanted it to, because I feel like, again, the film sets up stuff, and I feel like it could have gone deeper, and it, again, just goes into its normal approach. But by the end, I was like, that was a cool movie. I dug it. I liked the concept. It could have been better, but again, it was still good. So with all that said, I am going to give the Voyagers a B. Let me know down below what your guys' thoughts are. I'm really interested to hear your guys' thoughts, because I've only talked to a couple people who've seen this movie, and overall, we're kind of all feeling that same thing. We liked it. It just could have gone a little bit deeper. And I feel like the film was trying to do that earlier on. And I'm wondering if that was more of a studio interference or if something else had happened behind the scenes. I don't know, but I want to hear your guys' thoughts down below in the comment section. Hit that like and subscribe button. Head on over to Samtron Films on how to see films early. And of course, it's a big thank you to you and a big thank you to my Patreon supporters, because without you, I wouldn't be able to do this. So of course, until next time, stay classy.